Well, really, it comes down to this, and I think Greg alluded to this. You know, do you believe in aliens or do you believe in military projects? This was an article I did in 2003 during my investigation of the January 5th, 2000 case. And I love the title of the article. Is it us or is it them? And I think that's really the $64,000 question. If these objects are real, where do they originate from? And my argument is this, that there's three sides to the triangle. I think there's three possible explanations. One, the most practical, United States military assets that they're test flying. The other, possibly extraterrestrial. I don't think we can rule that out as a possibility. And then realistically, we might be dealing with a combination of both. In other words, some of these are stamped made in USA, where other ones may be made somewhere else, off-world. Explanations for these triangular UFOs. This really makes me laugh. You know, people say, well, these people that are seeing these large triangular UFOs are just seeing B-2 stealth bombers. Just a quick show of hands, who's seen the B-2 stealth bomber? Okay, we've been to air shows, right, and so forth. These sound just like any conventional jet aircraft when they fly over. Yes, they're radar evasive, but they make a hell of a lot of noise. I've had one fly over me twice, and it makes a lot of noise. And the B-2s don't hover, they don't make these flight characteristics or maneuvers that we see with these large triangular UFOs. In addition to that, the Aurora project is another one that's been alluded to that might be an explanation for these triangular UFOs. The TR-3A Black Manta is another Black Ops project. And then, of course, the TR-3B, which Michael Schrapp addressed earlier, so I don't really need to go there. So, and just real quick, I'd just like to share this with you. This is just a quick clip. Just visually, I'd like to share this, just to show you. This is just a YouTube video. Oh, video sound. There we go. I don't know about you, but that does not appear to be a dark, silent, triangular object that's making a lot of noise. They're beautiful to look at, but I don't think that they can be mistaken for these large triangles that are seen to hover 500 feet over someone's head. So, just want to share that with you. Another size comparison. Again, when we start looking at some of the reports, some of these reports actually say they're up to 300 feet in length, these triangular UFOs. We look at the wingspan of the B-2, it's only 172 feet. You compare that to a 747. These objects are very large. In fact, there was the famous case over Phoenix, Arizona in 1997. Estimates of that UFO, which was described as a V-shaped or triangular-shaped UFO, was estimated to be about a mile wide. And that's really one of the larger estimates that we've heard. One thing that you'll often see on the internet, I'll just share this real quick, we don't have to play the whole thing. We get these all the time. You go to YouTube, you type in UFO, triangular UFO, you get nice little videos like this. A lot of people, they send me links all the time. Hey, have you seen the latest video? I'm really not interested in video, especially this. This was from a Fox News team back in 2008 in Florida. And, you know, this is interesting, but from an investigative standpoint, there's nothing in the foreground, there's nothing in the background, you've got the camera moving, and let's be honest, you have points of light. You can't discern a shape. Could this be a 300-foot triangular UFO over a cornfield? Possibly. Could it also be a model suspended over your bed in your bedroom with the lights turned off? Quite possible. So, internet videos in and of themselves really aren't good evidence. And again, of themselves, unless we have multiple witness corroboration in that case. Physical evidence is absent with regard to these triangular UFOs. In all of the cases I've investigated, I don't have one account of these triangular UFOs landing or taking off, which is very interesting. Radar visual cases, which we're going to talk about as we go through some of these, they're compelling, but they're very few relative to the sighting reports that we have on file. And again, an individual case based on eyewitness testimony is insufficient. So we will take down an eyewitness account, but it's much more plausible, it's much more believable when we have 20 people that reported seeing the UFO from multiple locations that can corroborate each other's testimony versus one solitary individual. So, in my estimation, multiple eyewitness testimony from varied sources worldwide that display consistent patterns of behavior and have been reported over 60 plus years is our best evidence to support the existence of these objects. And again, as I said, individual reports are interesting, but mass sightings, and by mass I mean hundreds if not thousands of eyewitnesses observing these triangular UFOs have occurred. Real quick, let's just go through a few. This is one that I uncovered that had really never gained publicity before, and I was shocked when I discovered this. 1957, their words, not mine, triangular spaceships over Denmark. And I found this article in Flying Saucer Review from 1958, and it describes the Danish Defense Intelligence Service investigating a wave of large triangular UFOs over Denmark. And it went on to state, it quotes the Danish, or the newspaper BT in its April 16, 1958 edition. It states, triangular spaceships have also now appeared in the southern part of Jutland. From every part come reports of mysterious phenomenon in the sky towards the late evening. All witnesses state with certainty that conventional aircraft are not involved. It further notes, so many reports of a similar nature have been sent to the Air Force Station of Skrydstrup that they have been unable to cope with them all, and more are expected in the near future. Well, I thought that was interesting, just to have a newspaper document that during the time. And again, triangular spaceships was the term they used, which I thought was interesting. Again, I try to corroborate as much information as I can. Going through my archives, I actually found a news article, a Reuters news article, dated April 19th, 1958. It states, and this is again the title, Spaceship over Denmark. It goes on to state that a woman reported seeing a dark, silent, triangular UFO over the village of Brohir. And she goes on to state that as the object was hovering, it was large and black and silent. And as it flew over, a number of horseshoe-shaped objects, each emitting a strong light, emerged from the larger craft. And what was interesting is the fact that Reuters news service was able to find 20 other witnesses that corroborated the eyewitnesses' testimony. So that was very interesting. And there's other cases that bear similar nature where objects are seen to go in or come out of these triangular UFOs. But I thought that was rather interesting. And this is just a quick copy of the Reuters news article right there, and that kind of gives you an idea of where the sighting occurred in Denmark. So 1958 Reuters News Service article, triangular spaceships over Denmark. Then you would think that that would be strange to the Danish Defense Intelligence Service, but actually 5 years prior, the largest naval exercise since the end of World War II occurred in the North Sea, known as Operation Mainbrace. There were at least 3 to 4 documented UFO reports, one of which involved the Danish destroyer Willemoes that was on maneuvers, and they described a large triangular UFO. And what's interesting is we actually were able to obtain an old copy of the news teletype. And just real quick, it states that the first officer on the Danish destroyer Willemoes has reported to Mainbrace headquarters in Oslo that he observed a mysterious flying luminous triangle Sunday night, cruising while they were cruising north of Bornholm. And it goes on to state that we suddenly heard a whistling sound and saw a flying triangle pass at high speed. And it goes on to state, which is very interesting, the captain on board considered the report to be too substantial to be neglected and has reported it to Mainbrace headquarters in Copenhagen, from where it has been passed to Sir Patrick Bryan's headquarters in Oslo. So a very early report from 1952, military mind you, of a triangular UFO. Now, little side note to this. Last October, I had Linus Merck from Denmark in my home, along with Dr. Eske Willerslev, who's one of the world's leading geneticists that was attending a conference in Santa Fe. They're actually filming a documentary series for Danish television, and they heard about my research. And given the fact that Dr. Willerslev was in Santa Fe, they decided to come down, and we did an interview for their show that will be airing hopefully this fall or the beginning of next year in Denmark. And we focused on the triangular UFOs. The nice thing is, Linus, when he heard about this Danish wave, agreed to do some research and some archival work after he's done with his post-production work on his documentary. So hopefully he'll be able to find additional information from that time period from the newspaper archives, and we'll get more information on this Danish wave of 1957. But very interesting that that transpired. Well, meanwhile, back in Illinois, back on the ranch, as they say, in 1957, the wave in Denmark started in November of 1957. The same week, in Air Force Project Blue Book files, which is what we're looking at here, this is the cover sheet to the Blue Book report, there were 2 sightings, one in Woodstock, Illinois, and one in Delavan, Wisconsin. Same week as the Danish wave is starting to kick in high gear. One report in Woodstock, Illinois, describes a large triangular red object, green light in front, yellow or gray in the rear, low droning sound, traveling west to east and vice versa along the Illinois-Wisconsin border. Same time, Blue Book also noted in Delavan, Illinois, one amber or orange triangular-shaped object, 200 feet in size. Sounds like the Dutch East Indies case, doesn't it? Object was seen with red light and was in sight for 5 minutes. So at the time we have these sightings occurring in Denmark, we also have them occurring on the Wisconsin-Illinois border. If that's not interesting enough, as I continue to go through the Blue Book files, the same week, the first week in November 1957, I found an air intelligence report from Indonesia, and it describes November 6, 1957, the sighting in central Sumatra by 2 fishermen that saw a large triangular UFO. They went on to say that the shape of the strange object is a triangle, and from each angle, white smoke was coming out, which is very unusual. This may have been a situation where one of these things was in some type of mechanical distress. The top and bottom parts of the object were prostrated discs. But again, Indonesia, Illinois, Wisconsin border, Denmark, all describing triangular UFOs.